This is Dr. Mark Trexler with the Climate Countdown, here to provide you with insight into some of the key questions and risks associated with warming the Earth's atmosphere. Today's question: how big a threat does climate change pose to the value of your home? Home values in some parts of the U.S. have arguably been at risk from climate change for quite a while. Artificially low flood insurance rates, for example, have shielded coastal home values, but that won't continue forever. Some real estate markets can be thought of as ticking time bombs, not necessarily because of uncertainties over climate change, although those are certainly important, but because of uncertainty about when real estate markets will internalize climate risks. What real estate markets are we talking about here? The most obvious are coastal real estate markets that are threatened by a combination of sea level rise and extreme events. Some coastal real estate values are arguably one big storm away from crashing. Imagine, for example, if insurers simply stopped writing insurance policies, which some already have, or flood insurance premiums increased by 500% to more accurately reflect climate risks. Then there's riverfront real estate, which is where most flooding in the U.S. actually happens. While real estate values routinely decline after a big flood, they have tended to recover over a period of about 9 years as potential buyers forget about the last flood. But what happens as flooding becomes more frequent? Then there's the urban wildland interface, which is where in big parts of the U.S. most of today's new houses are being built. The loss of fire insurance coverage in some of those areas is, again, just one bad fire season away. Last, as ski seasons get shorter or disappear, what happens to real estate values in mountain resort areas? While there's an enormous literature pertaining to the kinds of risks I'm talking about here, climate risks have not had much of an impact on real estate markets until quite recently, with coastal gentrification leading the way. Coastal gentrification is when people with money start retreating from high-risk coastlines, forcing out the lower-income neighborhoods that currently sit on safer ground. But the internalization of climate risks by real estate markets is just getting started. How rapidly could we see tipping points triggered in these markets? While the idea that it's just one storm away may seem like the boy crying wolf at this point, at some point the wolf will be real. To take just one example, sea levels could start rising much faster than they are now. We know that it's happened before in the Earth's history, and we know we don't fully understand what's happening to the Greenland and Antarctic ice sheets. Dozens of feet of sea level rise are at stake, and some scientists anticipate the possibility of 10 feet of sea level rise by 2100. If things head in that direction, we'd start seeing big impacts on real estate quite soon. While the collapse of selected coastal real estate markets is increasingly accepted as inevitable, it's easy to assume that the collapse will be someone else's problem. Many people assume they'll be able to get out of the market before a collapse happens, in effect assuming they'll be faster and smarter than everyone else. Of course, not everyone can be faster and smarter than everyone else. When the collapse does come, it will almost certainly be generally characterized as an act of God that no one could have foreseen and that no one should be blamed for. But as we've discussed here, it's been foreseen for a long time. To quote Clint Eastwood, you've got to ask yourself one question. Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk? This is Mark Trexler with the Climate Countdown. Dig deeper into this and other Climate Countdown topics at our website, climatecountdown.climatesites.net. And thanks for listening.